Okay, let's go through the Werewolf the Apocalypse character sheet point by point. Of course, first you have the name of the character, the name of the player, and the name of the chronicle. The name of the player is not as self-explanatory as with Vampire, because werewolves have their own names in their community. Of course, they will have their human regular names, and if you're born a wolf or a metis, you will have like a proxy fake human name that you will use in conversation and in contact with humans. But when werewolves coerce with each other and talk to each other, they will talk to each other using their werewolf names. And werewolves have names like Native Americans. They will have these adjective type of names that will describe their personality or things they have done in their past or anything like that. You know, you could be something like a gore hound or a blood hunt or frozen feather or something like that. You know, anything you can come up with that fits to your character's personality and that sort of thing. Player's name is of course self-explanatory. The name of the chronicle, like I said in my vampire character sheet video, I don't really like to name the chronicle until after the chronicle is over, and that's more of an issue about filing old character sheets than actually, you know, knowing the name of the movie when that's unfolding. It's just something I'm not really that into. Then we go to breed, auspice, and tribe, and those are the three very defining characteristics about your character. Breed is what you were born as, and auspice is what moon you were born under, and tribe is what tribe you were born into. And breed basically means that there are three different ways you could have been born. You could have been born either a homid, a metis, or a lupus. You could have been born a human. You could have been born a werewolf, or you could have been born a wolf. That basically means if you were born, or if one of your parents was a human and one of your parents was a werewolf, you were born a human, and when you reached puberty, you had your first change when you turned into a werewolf for the first time. Usually when you frenzy for the first time, that's when you change for the first time. If you're born a metis, that means both of your parents are werewolves, and that is something that makes you basically, it's illegal to have two werewolves have children together, and that means that you are mutated, you have deformities, and your regular form for walking around in the world is this 9-foot-tall Krynos form, this mixture of a wolf and a man, but you are deformed and you are sterile and you are shunned socially by your community. And the third choice is lupus, being born a wolf. One of your parents was a wolf and one of your parents was a werewolf. And when you reached the adulthood for wolves, which is like 2 years or 3 years old, you had your first change, just like the Hamid, the human-born character, had. And those features, you know, give you some short aspects. You know, if you're born a wolf, you have some abilities that a human-born character wouldn't have. You know, wolves know how to hunt, how to pick up a scent, all these sort of things that humans wouldn't know from the get-go, and also humans know about using technology and that sort of thing. If you are born a wolf character, you have to learn during the course of the game to drive a car or use a pistol or anything like that, just like a human-born would have to learn, you know, hunting and picking up a scent and all this sort of stuff. And with metis, the characteristic with metis in this sort of sense is that they are very in tune with the spirit world, because they are so shunned and because they have been werewolves and aware of the spirit world from the time they have been born. So they basically have like a 13-year head start to human-born and a couple of years head start to wolf-born characters. They know a lot more about the spirit world, and thus they are much more in tune with it. They spend a lot more time in there, and thus in game terms they have a lot more spiritual essence to them, and they know a lot more obscure supernatural gifts that a lot of other characters wouldn't know. And your auspice is the moon you were born under. There are 5 different moons you could have been born under, and that determines your role in the community. There are 5 different roles that you could be in. You could be a Ragabash, you could be a Theurge, you could be a Philodox, you could be a Galliard, you could be an Ahron. Those are basically Ragabash is the trickster, the hunter, the sneaker, the thief, and all these sort of things. He's basically the slick and sly, silver-tongued kind of role in the pack when you're going on a hunt, when you need to break into somewhere, when you need to go silently somewhere. That's what the Ragabash specialize in. The Theurge, the Theurges are the shamans. They are the ones who communicate with spirits the most, the ones who spend a lot of time in the spirit world, who can navigate through the spirit world, who know a lot of rituals and rites to do different things that can be very powerful in the game and very useful. The Philodoxes are the judges. They are usually the pack leaders. They are usually in positions of power and stuff like that. They are very aware of weaknesses of others. They are very good at carrying themselves and having authority and all these sort of different things. Being a Galliard is being basically the mouthpiece, is being the lore keeper. You can tell tales, you can talk to people, you can delegate, negotiate, you can entertain, you can bring up stories of great historical events in the past. You are basically the best person to go and talk to people about different things and all this sort of different stuff. And last but not least, you have the Ahron. The Ahrons are the warriors, and that is very self-explanatory. Again, you have great rage when you're an Ahron. You are very powerful, very strong. All werewolves are very strong because they can all transform into the werewolf Krynos form, but still, when you have warriors already inside that sort of a caste of born to be warriors kind of race, when you have your own specialists in warfare, like the Ahron, they can do some serious damage. They can use some seriously dangerous silver-bladed weapons, and they can be fierce as all hell. And usually, when it's wartime, Ahrons will be the leaders, and when it's peacetime, usually the Philodoxes will be the pack leaders. But those can change. There's no rule anywhere that any specific auspice couldn't be a leader. It's just that leaders are usually chosen by a test of strength and a combat to test your fitness to be the leader of the pack, because there is a clear hierarchy, just like in a pack with wolves and a lot of other pack animals. The strongest is the leader. There is always an alpha wolf, and that position usually goes either to the warrior or the judge. And then there is tribe. There are multiple different tribes. These are very much like clans in Vampire. The tribes are much more set on regions than clans are in Vampire. Of course, Vampire clans have their own history that go back to certain places, but with werewolves, they are very in touch with their own family history. They are very in touch with their lineage and their ancestors. A lot of tribes hold very strong grudges against one another for things that happened hundreds of years ago, and they still hold those up, and they still are able to be in communication with their strong ancestor allies and all these sorts of different things. So in that sense, it's a lot bigger thing that Silver Fangs originally come from Russia, and how for example, the Black Furies come originally from the Greek Isles, and all these sorts of different things, how the Get of Fenris originally come from the Northern European, Scandinavian areas, all these sorts of different things, and how the Fiannas were originally the Celts and all that sort of thing. That's why the Get of Fenris and the Fiannas still have a strong grudge with each other, because their ancestors were the Celts and the Vikings. So, you know, you can imagine the bloodshed that was done by those two tribes in the Dark Ages. And the tribes, again, just like with clans, they are not meant to clamp the GM down or the player down in order to, this is the only real way to roleplay these characters or make a character of a specific tribe. They are very much, you know, you can't control what kind of a person is born out of some other person. In Vampire, you can still, you know, pick out people you're going to recruit into your clan to fit some specific criteria. But when you're born into a tribe, you are basically born into your the werewolf parents' tribe. That's something you just take on the baggage of your lineage, and there's as many personalities within the werewolves as there are with people. So basically, you can be a member of a specific tribe and not hold up to a lot of the features that tribe holds in high regard and that sort of thing. You can easily be a Get of Fenris who views killing Metis children for their deformity as an atrocity or anything like that. You can be multiple different things like that. So take the tribes as, you know, this characteristic and this spicing thing for your character, and little things that you can pick up from that, but not really something that clamps you down. Of course, there are all the tribes have their little, like, not only do they have their ancestors, they also have their different spirits, totem spirits and very powerful spirits that they worship specifically, and all these sort of things. Because they worship those specific totem spirits, those specific spirits have taught them supernatural gifts that only that tribe has. It's very difficult to learn supernatural gifts that spirits who are outside your tribes, you know, good graces. It's really hard to learn those type of gifts. So the tribe usually has similar gifts because they are in contact with the same spirits who teach them. Next is the pack name, the pack totem, and the character concept. The character concept, again, is one of the best places to start when you make your character. Just like with Vampire, when you start creating the character, before looking into, okay, what sort of statistics should I have, you really need to think on what sort of concept you want for the character. The character's position, his job, his social standing, all these sort of different things, the character's name, his background, all that sort of stuff falls into the character concept, you know. And it's not like anything that has like a rule on it. You just write down what the character's concept is, you know. And pack name and pack totem, all packs have names, just like gangs have names, or the characters have these Native American sounding names. All the packs have names, and the players and the GM can come up with them together, or the GM can just, you know, lay the smackdown on the players and just say that this is the name of your pack. You know, it can be anything, you know, like bloodhounds or you know, the or anything like that, you know. Also, unlike vampires, werewolves are pack animals, so more often than not, the players will stay together throughout the whole campaign as the pack, and that is why it's good to emphasize on the personality of the pack and all the sort of stuff that naming the pack being one of those kind of things that you can do. And the pack totem is something that is kind of important. You can pick out a pack totem that everyone in your pack worships. Totem being basically some sort of an avatar, some sort of a thing that you can put on a shelf that represents that totem spirit that your pack is dedicated to and worships. There are a lot of totem spirits in the near Umbra, like I've talked about the Umbra in earlier videos, and they live in those kind of higher planes of existence in the spirit world, and they are very powerful, and worshipping them gives you a lot of spiritual favors. And they will have like demands. They will demand you not to do something or to do something regularly in your life. They will demand a certain lifestyle from you, or they will demand you to hold certain principles very important to your heart in order for them to give you their pledge and their favors that they are going to give you. And there are different kinds of pack totems. There are totems of different animals. There's the totem spirit of the bear, there's the totem spirit of thunder, there is the totem spirit of the falcon, of Fenris, of different kind of spirits like this, and some of them are more powerful than others. The more powerful, the more expensive it is in character creation, and the more powerful it is, the better stuff it gives you. Stuff like it gives you a lot more success in intimidating someone if you're a worshipper of this sort of powerful spirit of war or something. It will make you more intimidative. It will grant you all sorts of favors in the field of battle, all sorts of different details that you can get from that. Then we go into attributes and abilities, and attributes and abilities are very similar, exactly the same as in Vampire. Every one of them is from 1 to 5. You have your physical, social, mental, and in abilities you have your talents, skills, and knowledges, just like in Vampire. In attributes, the attributes can't be less than 1, because if your strength is less than 1, you have muscular dystrophy or something that you can't pick yourself up or anything. If your intelligence is less than 1, you are mentally retarded and all that sort of stuff. But I will mention that in abilities there are a couple of things. There are 2 things that vampires don't have that are specific to werewolves, and those are the primal urge talent and the enigmas knowledge, because the knowledge of enigmas is what you use in the spirit world to interpret the abstract aberrations that you see before you. If you have a high count in enigmas, you are very good at realizing what these abstract patterns and such mean, and you are able to use them in finding out what's going on and what to do and all this sort of stuff. It's basically riddle solving and puzzle solving, investigation in the spiritual sense. And primal urge is your animalistic nature. It's your getting a scent, hunting, all this sort of thing, and you also use it to shift from your human form or your wolf form to or your Krynos form to the other forms. So you have 5 different forms as a werewolf, and you need to shift between them. You need to make primal urge die rolls. And primal urge is one of those that human-born characters can't have from the beginning. They would have to buy it with experience points or freebie points in character creation, and it's something that the wolves can have, and something like the wolves can have in the beginning is like drive, is like firearms and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically attributes and abilities. And then we go to advantages, and there's backgrounds and gifts. Very simply, backgrounds are exactly like with Vampire, though there are different backgrounds. For example, the pack totem is a background. If you want a certain pack totem spirit, it will be in the backgrounds, and it will tell you how many points it costs to get this, depending on its power level, and you will have to pay that. Also, if you want spirit weapons, fetishes, that are, either weapons or other spiritual tools that have basically a spirit fused into them. They can be necklaces, wristbands, tools like hammers or something, or weapons, and anything like that, that always have some sort of a supernatural property to them. They're basically magic items. You can tell the GM, I would like to have in the beginning of the game a fetish that can do this and this effect. And the GM will determine how much that costs and how much Gnosis spiritual power you need to have in order to use that, in order to activate that, to have that in the first place. And all sorts of other stuff. You can have spiritual ancestors, and they are your backgrounds. And just like vampires having ghouls, the werewolves have kinfolk. These are members of your family, the same children of a werewolf and a woman, or a werewolf and a wolf and all that, who didn't turn into werewolves. Very few people from a werewolves and a humans or wolves union becomes a werewolf. It's very rare these days in the modern setting. So those who don't still know about the werewolf society, and they do not fall into delirium when seeing a werewolf in its Krynos form, and they are your great allies. To be a werewolf and have like the local police chief be a kinfolk, a relative of yours who knows about the werewolf society. It's very very useful indeed, just like with having ghouls in a vampire. And there are other backgrounds as well, but you know, most of them are the same, you know, with allies and contacts and resources and stuff like that that vampire has as well. Now, gifts are not like disciplines. That's one of the first things that needs to be mentioned, that gifts are not like disciplines in vampire, and they should not be automatically like seen as that. You know, gifts are a lot weaker than disciplines, and gifts cannot be trained to be better at. You can't have like a gift on level 1 and then level 2 and level 4 and that sort of thing. Gifts are, you know, these little things that you can do that spirits will teach you. Of course, there are different levels of gifts, but you need to be on a certain level in your pack's hierarchy, in the community's hierarchy, in order for powerful enough spirits to take you seriously and have respect for you, to teach you more powerful gifts than the ones you start out with in the game. Gifts like being able to notice if someone is lying, gifts like being able to leap great distances, gifts like having so sharp claws that you can cut stone, those kind of gifts. When you rise in the ranks of your werewolf society, the society will take you more seriously and have more respect for you, and so will the spirits. And when the more powerful spirits have more respect for you, they will let you learn the more powerful gifts that they have to teach. Gifts like turning your claws not only sharp but coated with silver, and now you do aggravated damage to your opponents, and all sorts of different very powerful stuff. Some can even coat their entire body in silver, and only touching someone, just, you know, grabbing someone in a bear hug, you will give them aggravated damage, you know, by the second, and that sort of stuff. Next we go into Renown, and Renown is kind of the equivalent of how Vampire had humanity, self-control and conscience. In Werewolf, Renown is what werewolves hold in high regard when it comes to respect, when it comes to your position in the social hierarchy, and when it comes to how others perceive you, and what the werewolves hold dear when it comes to morals and values and stuff like that. And there are three things when it comes to Renown. There is glory, there is honor, and there is wisdom, and all of them are equally important to the society as a whole, but depending on your auspice, your role in the society, in the community, you hold one of these in a different position than others. You hold, when you are, for example, when you are an Aharon, a warrior, then you hold glory in greater regard than the other two. And when you are a judge, a philodox, you hold honor in higher regard than the other two. And when you are a shaman, a thurge, then you hold wisdom in greater regard. All of them are needed, all of them are gained through role play. You gain when you are given experience points, at the same time the GM will give you points in either glory, honor, or wisdom, depending on what you did during the session. And once you gain 10 temporary points in one of these, you will gain 1 permanent point. And there is a list in the book of how many permanent points you need in every one of these, depending on your auspice, your role in the community, in order to rise in the ranks, in order to rise into the 2nd rank, the 3rd rank, and so on. These mean basically that the society, the werewolf society and the community recognizes through your deeds and accomplishments that you are worthy of greater respect, you are worthy of greater responsibility and honor and a higher regard than others in the community. And also, not only does the werewolf society and the community and the other werewolves see it that way, also the spirits see it that way. If the spirits don't respect you, they won't teach you what you want to learn from them. If you want supernatural gifts that are from the 2nd rank or the 3rd rank or whatever, that are more powerful, that's what rank you need to be in the social hierarchy of werewolf in order for them to respect you enough to teach you those gifts and deem you worthy. And yeah, that's basically, it's mostly a social context in the game itself. Next we go into Rage, Gnosis, and Willpower. Willpower is straightforward, the same way it's in every World of Darkness game. And again, with all these, it's the same thing, that you have permanent points and temporary points. Permanent points meaning how much you have as your maximum, and temporary points are the ones that you erase with your eraser and scribble in with your pencil when you're using these points. Willpower, basically mind over matter. When you're doing something that requires you to do a willpower roll, in any context that you can imagine where willpower is something that comes to play, you will do a willpower roll based on what your permanent amount of willpower is, and you can bypass that by spending one of your temporary willpower points. And you can also spend a temporary willpower point to gain 1 automatic success roll when you're rolling. Not a completely successful roll, but since the rolls are done so that you're looking for multiple successful dice of all the dice you rolled, if you spend a willpower point, you will gain 1 extra die that was a success. And next we go. Let's go to Rage, and I've done an entire video about Rage in Werewolf. Basically, when you get enraged, the GM tells you to add more temporary rage points. And when you start to flip out due to your rage, you will do frenzy rolls, and you roll the amount you have permanent rage. And if you want to use rage for something, you use your temporary points. You erase those in the character sheet, and you use those to get extra turns in combat, or to turn into one of the 5 forms that Werewolf has without having to spend an entire combat turn for it and all that sort of stuff. And if you're about to fall into a frenzy, you can always spend 1 temporary willpower point to save you from falling into frenzy if you really don't want to. But willpower points are very precious, and you shouldn't just throw them around because you can easily run out. You gain more willpower points when you role play according to your character. That's a good way to reward your players for role playing well. It doesn't have to, you don't have to give them experience points for good role play, because in the context of the world it doesn't really make sense to gain experience for simply acting according to who you are and that sort of thing. And Gnosis is kind of like blood points in Vampire. The Gnosis is your spiritual essence, your chi energy that you gain from meditation and visits in the Umbra and all this sort of spiritual stuff, and you use your Gnosis points to use some supernatural gifts. Usually the most weaker ones don't require you to spend Gnosis points. but the more powerful ones will require that. And also, if you have like fetishes, those powerful magic items, they will require you to have a high enough Gnosis count in order to activate them. If they are very powerful, they can be only activated and used by the most spiritually in tuned members of the Werewolf Society. You can't just be some spiritually inept goof who just wants to spread blood around the best way possible, and then just have some awesome axe that has like the most powerful spirit around in it. The spirit won't follow your commands because you're not in tune with the spirit world in that way. So that's how you basically use Gnosis. The same way you're using the temporary points, and when you throw it, you throw according to the permanent count, and you always make a Gnosis throw when you step sideways, when you burst through the gauntlet into the spirit world, into the Umbra. That's when you use Gnosis as well. And then we have health, and health is pretty straightforward. It's exactly the same way as in Vampire. In Vampire, they heal by using blood points. Vampires heal by basically getting themselves entirely healed. If a finger is chopped off, it will grow back when you use blood points. Werewolves have a healing factor of themselves, but it's not. It doesn't require using any points that you need to collect. You have a automatic healing factor, kind of like Wolverine or somebody. It takes one combat turn to heal one level of damage, and it's automatic. You don't spend your turn to heal. As you're doing other stuff, you heal at the same time in the background. But the trouble with that is that you won't grow that finger back. It will just have scar tissue over it. You will leave scars on your body, and you can easily be left disfigured. Something I used in a game a little while ago was that when something got healed, it was healed in a way that it left nerve damage in a hand, because there was shattered bone there, and you couldn't really surgically repair it because the healing factor was working so fast that it was almost impossible to heal. So it left this kind of mark in the hand that even though it's healed, there's still sharp edges in a bone that give you nerve damage and that sort of stuff. So the werewolf healing factor, while being very powerful, can be a hindrance at times. But then again, werewolves see battle scars as tokens of respect and glory, and they respect people who have huge battle scars. But then again, if you walk into a supermarket and you have like this huge scar on your face, that the human society will react very differently. For the human society, it's a social minus, and for the werewolf society, it's a social plus. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole character sheet. So yeah, hope you found this educational for your werewolf games.